Recorded. Yeah, so the theme for today is that we can use our emotions as fuel to grow and expand. So yeah, what I've learned over the years is that like you can do so much work, like you can to increase your health and to increase both your mental and physical health. You can you can diet till you see to the moon and back, and you can do many different things to help you grow and expand. However, if you don't address to the emotions, to your emotional health, to the emotions in that are experienced in your body, it's actually you can it can be a real setback. So if you can work really hard on whatever you want to work on, but if you still have stuck emotions stored in your nervous system that are unintegrated, they can really hold you back a lot. So that's why I wanted to focus today on gaining clarity around what emotions are holding you back, and how can we actually work with them. So how can we work with them? How can we integrating using our innate, I call them your innate technology or your innate tools that is part of our DNA and we all have access to. And they are innate tools of course, our innocence, awareness, and also breath to direct and identify those emotions that are holding you back. So what I've experienced is that we as humans, we have godlike qualities, but we also are animals. So we're both gods and animals together in our human body. And that can be really confusing. It's at least it was very confusing for me. And I can see that it's very confusing for a lot of people that I work with, because I have the kind of named those two pathways, your thrive pathway and your survive pathway. So they are literally pathways that can be identified in our brain and in our nervous system. So you have two pathways that actually, when you're in this pathway, you have access to a different kind of information. So when you're in your survive pathway and in your survive orientation, you basically derive information from this orientation. And when you're in your thrive pathway, your thrive neural pathway, you derive information from that pathway. And we actually have both those pathways available to us. However, our survive pathway, and this is also, of course, what William Whitecloud and all our teaching in the Natural Success curriculum says, is that our default pathway is our survive pathway. And what we do is that what we can do is we can master. So when we know how to use both pathways, and of course the tension that is derived from both pathways, if we can use that consciously, we can use it towards growth and expansion. However, I noticed that a lot of like trauma and emotions and unintegrated emotions are often stuck in your survive pathway. And your survive pathway is basically parts of it originates in parts of our brain. So it's like mainly our lower brain. And then it expresses in our sympathetic nervous system. So that's the part of our fight-flight system. and of course a part of our parasympathetic system, which is the dorsal vagus nerve, which is the oldest nervous system pathway, which is basically collapse. So those are part of your survive pathway. And there is really nothing wrong with this pathway, because it's very important that we have this pathway. Otherwise, we wouldn't really be alive, most likely. So, however, when you're stuck in it and you don't know how to get out of it, it can become a limiting feature in wanting to create the life you love. And most of us are either, yes, have like some emotions that are unintegrated and stuck in these pathways. So I wanted to just create a little bit more of an overview first, and then we can dive into an exercise to see how we can access those emotions. So this is your survive pathway. And on the other hand, your thrive pathway starts in areas in our brain more like the front brain and the prefrontal cortex, and then they exit your brain through your occiput and then become your ventral vagus nerve. And your ventral vagus nerve is also really derived, is also, no, how do you say it? Not derived, it's like created for survival, but in this way we survive through connection. So this is the newest pathway. But when we're in thrive pathway and we are mainly deriving our reality and information from this pathway, we are not too much in our senses. So we derive information more from our innocence and our higher self. And this is where our genius creator houses, in our thrive pathway. The information that is derived when you're in your survive pathway is more based on our senses, on what we hear, what we feel, what we smell. So that is the difference. And we both have those two pathways at all times available to us. Now, when you have a nervous system that is well adapted and that is resilient, you can actually go through all those pathways, for example, in one day. Like, for example, you can wake up in the morning and you feel you've had a good night's sleep, so you feel rested and relaxed, and you jump into your car and you're driving to work, and all of a sudden you might have a somebody cutting you short, and you get into like a shock, like your nervous system responds. And it might be first like that you hold your breath and you're in some sort of freeze moment, like a shock moment, which is the dorsal survive pathway. And very quickly though, you might feel you're in fight flight. So you might feel angry. You might go like, oh, what's happening here? Like this guy, and he didn't look. And so you're getting into fight flight. And by the time you arrive at your work, you might feel relaxed again. You might feel that your breath starts to become deeper, and you're back in ventral. So this is a nervous system that is well adapted. So I always picture a ladder in front of me. So you've got the dorsal, so the lowest, basically it's actually stuck. When you're stuck, when you're disassociated, disconnected, when you are often when you're depressed, when you feel, there is emotions like hopelessness, despair. Those feelings really fit with the oldest survive pathway, which is the dorsal vagus nerve. And we've all been, like most of us have been in this place, in this space. And then the next step of the ladder, the next few steps, is the ventral, is the sympathetic pathway, which is more like, has more energy. You have more energy available to you to either fight your way out of a situation, or walk away. So that has more energy. And then when you're on top of the ladder, the ventral part, which is the thrive pathway, then you have the most available energy for actually for creation. So when you're really creating from your thrive pathway, you have the most available energy that you have access to create the life you love. Because at the end of the day, you do need energy to create. It costs energy. And when you're in either the bottom one or the middle one, you often don't have that available energy to create the life you love. So there is an incredible amount of energy that is stored in emotions, because emotions is actually energy in motion. So emotions are designed to drive your decisions and to move you into action. So that's basically what emotions are for. However, when they're not integrated, they stay stuck in your nervous system. And it's almost like in that stuckness, your brain can't access it. So in that stuckness, you have like this fuel tank almost, that you can't access. So by learning how to access this incredible amount of potential energy, you release that, and the energy that is released by accessing that part of yourself, you can use to drive towards your vision and ultimately create the life you love. So this is what I just a little introduction into emotions and nervous system. And I just, before I continue, I just wanted to maybe get some shares to see what's landing, and if this is landing and what's landing. Daiga.
Yeah, this sounds very much like polyvagal theory.
It is.
And I'm a great fan of polyvagal theory. I done a course for a bunch of counselors on polyvagal theory. I'm a great fan of it.
Yeah.
What I really like is I like your spin on this kind of emotions. Emotions are like energy in motion, and in fight or flight and freeze, they kind of stack. And I also like this concept of thrive pathway and survive pathway, which is kind of ventral vagal versus like free the sympathetic and dorsal vagal. So love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I said great fan of polyvagal theory. It makes sense at every level.
Yes, and like what I'm doing is linking it to the natural success work, because the two, how William uses the two path, the two, like your reality and your vision. And that is basically, when you're in survive, when you're stuck in survive, you're actually recreating the same same reality. Because when you're stuck in survive, when you're stuck in that dorsal and sympathetic pathway, you're too afraid to there's so much resistance, and you'll recreate the old reality. But of course there is a huge amount of tension if you really know how to access it. Well, thank you. That's great that you're familiar with that.
Because like I said, I'm a great fan of polyvagal theory, but to link it with natural success work, I haven't figured it out quite yet. And you just literally very beautifully linked that for me. So thank you.
Yes, I just wrote my book about it. So it just came out. So this book is all about William Wycloud's, the natural success work, which is of course borrows a lot of, it's like how do you say it, like combination of many different things, but I'm kind of linking it with the nervous system because that's my my expertise, I guess.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to share? So what's landing? Because it could be a little bit complicated for people that are not familiar with the polyvagal nerve theory. So anything that is not, like if there is anything unclarity or what's landing or what's not landing. Oh, Sandra.
Hi,
Hi.
Jyoti. Yeah, this is new to me, but it definitely sounds amazing and so makes sense because like when you're talking about the flight or fright and you're stuck in that fear, the fear and doubt place that we can get stuck in, that and having all that energy there, that's the stuck emotion, to actually be able to access that and integrate it just sounds amazing. Because I'm aware that I've been functioning a lot from the fear since William's work, just noticing how I function as I go along. And when I'm in my genius creator, when I, do deconstruction or something, I can really sense the difference between the two places. But I know that I spend quite a lot of time in the survival rather than the thrival. So sounds amazing. I haven't heard of it. I'm really glad I showed up.
Yes, I'm sure. No, me too. Thank you, Sandra.
And there you go, explained it so well.
Yeah, and one thing I hope that you take away is that first, most of us are mainly in survival. That's because our whole I guess our whole the culture is that whole competitiveness is so built into our cultural heritage, and so a lot of us are in survival. And the other thing I hope that you take away is that there's nothing wrong with being in survival because it's part of our DNA. It's part of who we are as humans. It's very human, and I'm happy we have that pathway available to us. However, if you're stuck in it, then it will just really sabotage your growth. So I hope with this, what we're going to do, the exercise that we're going to do, that the takeaway is that you have like a practical tool that you can use when you're stepping into your own current reality circle with your own choices, and that you can bring this work into your own work. So it's a practical application that we're going to learn today. Anybody else wants to share what's landing? Any questions, or everybody's good? Yeah? Okay. Okay, so this is so then the other thing that is important to know and essential is that when you're resisting, so first of all, emotions, what I believe is there's no negative or positive emotions. I think they are all welcome. Like, for example, an emotion like fear, for example, and an emotion like sadness, they're often emotions that we resist because we believe that they are negative or unwanted. But fear in its positive. So I believe both emotions have two sides. All emotions, even happiness or joy. You don't want to be constantly in happiness or joy, right? That is also very tiring if you're stuck in being completely happy. So all emotions are welcome, and I see them sometimes as a guest. So you've got your house, that's you, and then you have all those emotions. They can be guests, and some of them and they're all welcome. For example, fear in its positive application, fear is an amazing emotion that you can use to set really clear boundaries, for example. And fear is also a really amazing emotion that has a lot of energy in it. So if you can access fear and anger also, anger is an amazing emotion that you can use to set clear boundaries, and it can really propel you forward, fear and also anger. So and for example, sadness as an emotion, I find sadness actually a really beautiful emotion when you really allow yourself to connect with sadness. It's an emotion that can really help you be present in the present moment, and it can really help you to reconnect back with you. And when you let them flow through you, again, emotions are energy and motion, and when you allow them to, that they move through you as opposed to resisting them and holding on to them, then they are beautiful because they come and go. They come and go, and they give you a lot of valuable information. So that is important. So the problem starts with when you start resisting emotions. So what we want to do is we want to learn to not resist them and learn to integrate them using our awareness and our innocence and our breath, which they are all part of our, I call it our inner technology that we are born with, and we all have access to. So what I wanted to do is I just wanted to illustrate the exercise, because I'm going to put everybody in like a Zoom, like a breakout room with you're working in pairs, and you're going to work together, and I'm going to send some things in the chat, and you can make a photo of it if you want, because it's going to be, writing down is too much time, so I always take a photo of the prompts in the chat. I'll put them in there later, but I want to work in pairs, and you're going to be in breakout room for 40 minutes. So if it's how many, we're 7, right? So oh no, we're 8. Is that including me? I don't think so. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's including me. So we're 7. Oh, so we're having one of 3, one room of 3. Yeah, that's it. 1 room of 3 and 2 rooms of 2. But I wanted to, before we go into the breakout rooms, I wanted to illustrate this exercise. So can I have one volunteer? Who wants to volunteer? Polly, great. So I'm going to just show you how everybody how this exercise is and what you can do yourself later on in the breakout rooms. But I'm going to invite everybody to join me, actually, while I'll guide Polly through this. We can all join in. And what I'll do is I'll only illustrate it in the current reality circle, but you're going to do the same for the vision circle as well. Okay? All right. Okay, Polly, continue. So let's just start with just, if that feels comfortable, just gently close your eyes. And just allow yourself to arrive in this moment, just observing your body, observing your breath, and just feeling your 2 sitting bones on your chair and your feet firmly on the ground, just arriving in this moment. And we're starting with setting a clear intention to be of service to your highest good, to just observe the obvious, be present, and stay in your innocence. We're starting with defining a choice. So connect with a choice that feels stuck. Connect with the choice that feels stuck. And we're first going to define your current reality circle. So we're drawing an imaginary circle on the left of you. And we're stepping into this circle with your orientation, victim. And while you're in this circle, connect with your choice that is stuck. And bring your awareness to an area that feels tense in your body. And if you want, you can just briefly open your eyes. You might feel an area. I mainly use 3 areas. So you've got this area here in your heart. There is an area, I'll stand up here, like in your diaphragm area, or an area here in your gut. So you can choose one of those areas while you're in your victim circle that feels a little bit more tense, a little bit more disconnected, tense.
I feel it mainly in my chest and especially in my throat.
Okay, so please put your hands on your chest. And what we're doing now is we're directing our breath and your awareness to this area. Taking a deep breath in and sitting with that tension. And while you're here, what we're going to do is we're both observing the obvious. So both the facilitator and the person that is being read are observing the obvious in this current reality circle. And we're going to share one alternating. You first share and then I share. We can start with what is obvious. Can you connect with an emotion that is felt in this area? So really starting with connecting with an emotion.
I have to say,
Yeah, you can share first or the other person, but you share one and then the other. So you alternate. I feel what is obvious to
I
me.
feel something between fear or embarrassment,
Okay.
or fear of embarrassment.
So stay with this emotion and breathe into this emotion. And stay present with this emotion. Emotion of fear, and this emotion of embarrassment. And what is obvious for me is that I feel that there's a hiding component in this as well, a hiding component, where there is the feeling of hiding, of going in. Stay present and see if you can ever so slightly let go of the resistance against this emotion. Using your breath and your awareness. What is obvious now?
I don't feel it anymore. It became light.
Beautiful. I also feel it's a lot lighter now. Okay, you can slowly open your eyes.
And also what I felt was a change. So it went from fear and embarrassment, and when I released the resistance, it went towards compassion and love, and that's okay.
That's
Like accepting the emotions.
That's really beautiful. So here with the circles, you can really help each other to guide each other through this, and really observe the obvious. You can both share, so it's not just the reader that shares, but you can both share what is obvious. And with doing this, you're actually releasing an incredible amount of potential energy that when we're stepping into our vision circle after this, you can use to drive towards your vision. So yeah, after the current reality circle, you're stepping into your vision circle. So you're doing exactly the same when you're in your vision. And then the bridge. So you're also, again, when you're in your vision circle, I invite you to place your hands on an area that actually feels spacious and feels easy and connected, and connecting with an emotion, with an elevated emotion, and share that. And then the bridge, you actually hold your hands both on the area that felt restricted and on the area that felt open. So for example, if it's here, like for example, with Polly, this area felt restricted, and maybe when she steps into a vision circle, this area feels open and free. And the bridge, you're actually connecting with both of them. And from that, you can receive the next obvious action step. Because what is typical from when you're in survive mode, in survive pathway, is that you can only hold one perspective. And when you're in thrive pathway, you can hold more than one perspective. And to be able to hold the bridge, you are able to hold both perspectives, your current reality and your vision. Anybody has any questions about this exercise? Yes, please.
I have a question, because one of the fundamentals is actually that, like, to receive the wisdom is to have the tension, the discrepancy from the vision and the current reality. I see how it is beneficial for the nervous system to release that resistance, but at the same time, doesn't this also lowers the tension for that wisdom to come afterwards?
It will lower the tension. However, there is, because survive pathway is such an innate part of you, there will always be, and it's so your default pathway, that there will always be another we're actually shedding layers here. So I often realize it's a really great question, Polly. I'm happy you asked that, because working with my clients, that's what I do also. Like it's like an onion almost. Like you shed layers, and then when one layer is released, then another layer comes up, and then you shed that layer, and then another layer. So it's not that often you hold so much emotions in that survive pathway that you probably have fuel for a lifetime. Because
yeah, I see.
Yeah, eventually you want, because that's what we do with the natural success work, is we also acknowledge our thoughts and feelings, right? When we're in there. So I acknowledge the thoughts and feelings, and then you step back into your current, so you refocus. So basically this is acknowledging your thoughts and feelings, but it's going one step further. It's not just I acknowledge my thoughts and feelings, but you're really connecting with those emotions, because the emotions are really the humus layer. It starts with your emotions. That's often when you have a trauma, when you're young, you have an emotion first, then you have thoughts, then you have beliefs, and your reality, right? So it's really layered, but the emotions are always the bottom layer. So even connecting
Yeah.
your thoughts and your beliefs, you stay a little bit more on the surface. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I get a clear picture now, because if you have that much resistance to some emotions, then it preoccupies the whole structure, and even if you are in the vision, then you are not really in the emotion of the vision.
Yes, 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 yes. And there is so much fuel in our survive pathway that
Mm.
because it's so much part of who we are as a human. So we'll always have we'll always be able to find fuel in there that create the tension between the two. And you know,
Yeah.
the other great thing is Polly, like I'm just like that's becoming obvious now. What will happen will the more fuel you start to use, the higher your visions will become too. So you know, now you might go for like for example, you might go for, I don't know, let's say your work, you want to earn, let's say, I don't know, 75,000 euros a year, right? Maybe it's really comfortable now, and that will really support you, and you'll be happy with that. However, when you start to grow and expand in that really, you know, the Fibonacci sequence, that natural growth, you'll expand more and more and more, and that means that the tension will always be there, but it will be driven from your vision, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else wants to have any questions? I'm going to put some things in the chat now, some of the prompts, so everybody can make some photos of that. Oh, here, Faith. Sorry, I can't stay to do the Zoom one. Mary, oh, she went already? Oh no, Mary's here. Are you leaving? Oh, you're leaving. Okay, so I won't put you in it. So we have then we have 1, 2, 3 Zoom rooms. Okay, okay. So you can't stay. Hi from Melbourne. Shifts it from psychological to structural tension. You don't want psychological tension at all, only creative and structural tension. Yes. Where you Faith? Oh, did you want to share something more about that? Oh, are you just in response? Okay, good. So I'm just going to add some of the prompts into the chat now. Okay. So everybody chooses a choice that is stuck. This is the first one is the current reality circle, orientation victim. That's this one. And then the second one is the vision circle. Second one. And then the bridge is, I'm going to put that in here. Okay. Yeah, so easiest probably to make a photo of these, and that you can help, that can just be your guideline during the exercise. So we're in 20, it's 20 minutes per person, so it's quite a fair amount of time. Bye, Mary. Bye. Thanks for joining. And then we'll come back here, and then we'll have a short share, because this is yeah, we have a few minutes of assimilating and sharing. Anybody, any more questions, or is it quite clear? Okay, I'm just going to put you into the breakout rooms. 1, 2, 3. Okay, see you in 40 minutes. Welcome back, everybody. How was that? So what's, anybody wants to share? What's landing? What? Yeah. Concretize this experience. Always good to share. Concretize. Polly.
So it was very interesting experience. It was difficult for me because like when I did the structure for the first time, and the steps were too many and I was like trying to follow them. I guess if I do it second time, it will be much more clear because I will know exactly the steps. What I observed was that for me, when we were doing my choice, and when I was in the bridge and placing the two hands in the different areas, this kind of mixed me up. Like, am I in the vision? Am I not in the vision? And this like a little bit perpetuated receiving the bridge. And when I was doing the reading, I saw very clearly what was her vision, what was in the current reality. She was mentioning the emotions. And then when I did the bridge for her, it came so easy. So I'm questioning what was not exact when I was doing my bridge, the two hands, so that it felt a bit uneasy.
Yeah, I do like to actually speak to that, because this is a slightly different way of receiving the bridge. You know how you have the triangle, where is it love, truth, and wisdom, and basically you're holding the two perspectives of current reality and your vision at the same time, which is part of like always part of a greater perspective, because when you're in that thrive orientation, you can hold more than one perspective. So it's like you have this bird's view, which is actually what the bridge normally is, because you are looking back at your current reality from your vision and from that higher perspective. But this is like you're holding it at the same time, and linking it almost into your body. Does that make sense? So it is definitely, it's a little bit different way of doing the same thing.
So the focus has to be linking the two emotions in the body, or integrating and then receiving the wisdom.
Yeah, so what I do is, instead of just holding those two perspectives of current reality and vision in your mind, you're actually linking it to your body, because your body and your mind are actually, they're so connected. So, and most of your emotions are they are linked in your body. So by holding, say, for example, this is an area that feels easy when you're in your vision, and say this is an area that feels not easy, you're holding those two perspectives at the same time. So the only difference is that you're linking it to your body while you're doing it. Right?
And can you show us again, please, the areas, the three areas?
So the three areas are, it's your heart area, this is the area. And the second area is like your diaphragm, which is more here. And
like
then
the solar plexus?
Yeah, like this area, like it's like around the diaphragm here. Yeah, solar plexus as well. And then the third area is a lot lower, like it's like right here in your gut. And those areas are actually also linked to the vagus nerve, but I didn't want to bring that in, because I realized this is already a lot, because it's like a different way of doing the natural success work, but bridging it to the nervous system and the body and the emotions, right?
And are they connected to the chakras, like the second, the third, and the fourth?
I am not, they probably are, but I'm not working so much with the chakras. I'm linking it more with the nervous system.
Okay.
And again, when you're in your vision circle and you're connecting with the emotions there, and really releasing and connecting with an elevated emotion that is part of your vision, you're again linking it to your body and releasing those emotions, and really releasing the fuel in those emotions as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I can imagine that it's a little in the beginning, like for me, it really works when I hold those two parts of you in a way. If you hold them together, it's really easy way to receive my bridge. I normally get my bridge instantly, and it's quite interesting that you receive the bridge for somebody else instantly, but not for yourself, right?
Yeah, because I was trying to figure out, okay, what's going on now between the two hands? Am I doing it right?
Yeah.
I was more into the technical stuff, and what has to happen now? Is this the right way? And with the other person, I just went for the truth. And
Yeah, I can imagine it's definitely a little different, like a little. But I remember when we did the natural success work in the beginning, you also had to think, right? Okay, we're stepping in this circle and that circle, and we have to step into innocence. So it's just a little, getting used to it.
And what about this last step that you are mentioning? Are you receiving a symbol and the movement related to that emotion? How do you use that?
Yes, so I forgot to take that out of the description, because it's like realize I put too much in. But what I do is I link when you're in your current reality, so in your survive orientation, and you're really connecting that, holding your hands on an area that feels stuck and where the emotion is stuck. If you can connect with a symbol that you receive from this orientation, and if you can connect with a movement as well that symbolizes this state, it can help you to move from an area of stuckness into a, it can help you move up the ladder, basically. So I work a lot with my clients with that they get empowered when they feel stuck, that they connect. Say, for example, when you feel stuck, you might get a symbol of something going in, and you might have like a movement of this, and then you might feel the next level, you might connect with a different movement and a different symbol, and then the ventral, the thrive pathway, has again a different symbol and a movement. You can help yourself move up the ladder. But I kind of took it out for this presentation because I didn't want to confuse everybody. So it was already a lot of information. But this is just an extra tool that you can use to move up the ladder. And you probably know that, Daiga, knowing a bit more about the polyvagal theory, how you can help yourself to move up the ladder. Yeah. Yeah.
And do you use sometimes this symbol and a movement in the beginning of entering the circle, so that the person receives the obviousness from them?
Yeah, so if you can use, like, for example, if you're in your current reality, or even when you're in your normal day-to-day life and you feel you're stuck in like a certain pattern, you might feel either fight, flight, or even stuck. Then you can use this symbol and a movement to get yourself out of that. And you always have to actually move through. So, for example, to get into thrive, the ventral, the top one, you always move through the ladder. So you can't move from dorsal, which is, stuck and disconnected and disassociate. You can't move to ventral. You have to go through sympathetic to move here.
Does it mean that you have to do it for a while? For example, if you are in a stuck state and there is you connect a typical you connect a movement in the symbol. So does it mean that you have to do a couple of minutes that movement, and you would say go to the vision and see, okay, what's the symbol and the movement of the vision, and then stay with it so that you regulate your nervous system, and then you go in the bridge?
Yes, you can. And you also use breath to regulate your nervous system. So movement and breath, they're both innate tools that you have to, and of course your awareness, to regulate your nervous system. But yeah, I kind of forgot to take it out. I wanted to talk about it before, but I thought I don't want to kind of overload you with too much information. But this is actually an almost another topic for another masterclass to introduce that.
I actually received once, I don't know, probably it was, so I was working with my health, or I don't know which choice it was, because it was a year or two ago, but I felt anxious for some reason, and the bridge that I received was like, be like a baby, and do like babies. And what do they love to do is to be like, they make like this type of movements. So this was my bridge, and I was in this movement, and it vanished. Like, I completely changed the way I felt and the whole situation.
Yeah, it's really powerful. Like, it is actually really powerful work. I've been using this work also with my clients And it's just a really powerful tool to that you can have yourself to move you out of those different states. Anybody else wants to share? I know I'm going a little bit over time, so if you have to go, please go. But anybody else wants to share? What came up, what landed, concretizing? Sandra.
Oh, Joyodi, yeah, I had an amazing time with faith, and I really feel a big shift in my energies. So it was beautiful.
Oh, I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy. Happy to hear. Happy
Thank
to
you.
hear. Yeah, and I hope I gave everybody some tools that they can start integrating in their own work, in their own circle work, when you do your circle work in the mornings or anytime you do that. Anybody else? You feel complete? Everybody feels complete? Yeah? Okay. Well, thanks. Thank you. And hope to see you next time. Bye. Thank you.